The spotlight on Bill Gaulman was a bit intimidating.
If you just bear with me, I'm a little nervous.
But in this moment last year, at Pathway's gathering space on Martha's Vineyard, he put his nerves aside to share a story that was important to him. A story ripped from the pages of his Vietnam War diary.
The name of my book is Da Nang Postscripts, and it's sort of like the result of my life or my fictional character as a result of post-traumatic stress disorder, of living through the war and then the aftermath of the war.
Writing the book was cathartic for Bill.
I enjoyed writing. I got rid of a lot of things that were caught up inside me that the writing allowed me to express. So it's been a blessing.
Reading his book to a packed room, people hanging on his every word and in awe of his bravery, meant even more to him.
On the positive side, I must confess that my mental survival has been better than most. The generic form of insanity was rampant in Vietnam due to the mental exhaustion. Men in combat are not always able to handle the stress and pressures of war. Excuse me.
Vietnam clearly left a mark on Bill, but his family considered him lucky because he made it out alive.
He's actually my hero.
LaShawn Gaulman is Bill's son.
You know, not just because he's my father, I'm saying these things, but he was an amazing guy. So he got a job, he took the job at the fire department. And if you know anything about New York City history, during the 1970s, the Bronx was burning. He and, of course, his fellow firefighters were putting out fights regularly. So he was putting out fires, he was saving people, he was falling through floors, plenty of injuries, plenty of rescues. From there, he became a New York City fire marshal. He would investigate fires. Then fast forward to the 90s, he was able to become an environmental specialist.
What a life.
Yeah. All while trying to make sure that my sister and I had everything that we needed.
Bill, an avid sailor, and his wife Sandra retired to Martha's Vineyard in 2017. His wife was by his side when Bill was diagnosed with liver cancer this past December. But doctors on the island couldn't manage his pain. So he was flown from the Vineyard to Lahey Hospital and Medical Center, where he continued to receive his cancer treatments.
He just wanted to be there, and I made sure that he got there.
LaShawn lives in the Bronx, where Bill raised him. Once a week, LaShawn drove up to Falmouth, where he'd meet Bill and Sandra at the ferry. Then they'd head to Burlington for Bill's weekly appointment at Lahey.
And that was something that he taught me. When people need you, you show up. And so that's what I did, because that's what he would do for me.
But Bill's pain was relentless and getting worse.
At that point, he had heard from the oncologist that unfortunately the disease was progressing to the point that was causing him all this pain, and that there wasn't likely going to be any more treatments for him.
He decided he wanted to go home.
The Bronx was where his son and daughter were. It's where all of his other family were. All of his friends were there. One of the major roadblocks then became, how do we get him there? When somebody is going home or to a hospice facility from our hospital, usually always they're needing to be transported in an ambulance.
Insurance wouldn't cover the expensive 200-mile ambulance ride from Burlington to the hospice.
Because I was going to take him in my little Subaru, and we were, with the IV hanging up on the coat rack, we were getting down to New York.
That's where Dr. Beth Collins and the Hospice Comfort Care Fund came in.
There are more and more people who are needing hospice care for end-of-life care. Statistics show that 70% of people do not want to die in a hospital, they want to die at home. And the Women's Leadership Council incredibly took that on, and that's what's brought us to where we are now.
It was a grant from the Hospice Comfort Care Fund that made Bill's dying wish possible.
And when we told them that that was an option and that we were going to get him to the Bronx, get him home safely in an ambulance, his entire family just couldn't be more grateful. He actually had tears in his eyes. He could not believe that he was going to get to go in an ambulance and it wasn't going to be a burden for his family.
It means a lot for me personally. My sister, my father's wife, and all his friends. They get to come down, my aunt, my cousins, his sailing buddies, some of his firefighter friends. So it's just a very touching thing that we could be here and touch him.
If you ask LaShawn and his family, they'll say you can't put a price tag on the time they were able to spend with Bill. Going forward, they not only have their memories of Bill, they have his own words, captured in his book to remember him by. A life lived in service to his country, his city, and his family.
I honestly believe that all living souls will have to give an account of the things that they've done in this life. My goal, therefore, is to be able to stand before my Creator one day and say, Lord, I did the best I could.